Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the High Ticket Coaching and Consultant Strategy and Growth Show. Now, if you're watching this show anywhere else but within our private Facebook community called High Ticket Client Attraction Insider Circle, then definitely come check us out. We definitely love to have you. That group was put together specifically for coaches, consultants, and service providers who are serious about getting up to that 6 and 7 figure level. So if that's you, definitely come check us out. So today I want to introduce you to one of the members of the community, Clarissa. Welcome, Clarissa.
Oh, thank you so much, Extus. I'm delighted to be here.
Awesome. Love having you here as well, too. So tell us, what is it that you do?
Well, I'm a coach and a mentor for corporate women who are going through transition in their midlife. So that could be that they're going through the menopause. Maybe we're also at the same time becoming an empty nester, having changes in our relationships, or reflecting on what we want from our careers.
Mm-hmm. Love it. So what got you started on the path of being a coach?
Well, I was a corporate woman for nearly 28 years in a C-suite position, and I actually had a burnout in the middle of my menopause and realized that I wished women had understood more about this time of life, the challenges they were going to face, and that someone had been there for me to actually support me through what is, for many women, the biggest change point, pivotal point in their careers.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really set me on a new path to helping women holistically to go through this midlife process much better.
Yeah, awesome. So you said when you had the burnout, did you end up leaving the job? How did that look for you?
For me, it was quite a number of years where I was just very emotionally and physically drained. My health deteriorated, but I was still working because I was a single mother. I had a lot of commitments, and you have to keep pushing on. That's part of this thing that we do. We think, oh, I got to stay on this treadmill. And eventually, in my mid-50s, I just couldn't do it anymore. And I said, right, I am going to start a new career path. And I want to help other women go through this life transition so much better than I did. And that's when I switched.
Yeah. Was it a pretty easy shift for you, or did it take you quite some time to say, you know what, let me get to a point where I'm ready to make this shift?
Yeah, I think for many years prior to that, I'd had a lot of tree training, which I did in my spare time. I was also a little bit side hustling, finding my feet until I actually went, no, now I'm strong enough to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So in total, I think I probably spent at least 2 years kind of in that side hustle space before I took the big leap to
Yeah.
being full time.
Yeah. Now thinking back on it all, do you think that 2 years was a long time, or do you think if you had to do it over again, would you do it sooner? How do you think about it now?
I think that depends. For me personally, it worked well. But, it depends on your financial position. I mean, where are you at? Can you afford to let everything go? Maybe if you can, then sometimes getting into it a bit sooner makes life a bit easier, because it is quite hard to juggle both together and kind of keep motivated in the job that's paying and supporting you while getting your side hustle to a place where you can step out from that.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So, so before you became your coach, right? You were just in the corporate, right? So, did you do any type of entrepreneurial type stuff?
No, I'd never been an entrepreneur except for a year when I supported my husband to launch his business, and I had a year out and we launched a very innovative business
Mm-hmm.
together. But I'd pretty much been a corporate person. And I have to say that until I was close to my burnout, I'd loved that. I gained a lot from it, so no, I wasn't an entrepreneur, so I had to learn how to be one.
Yeah. Which do you find more challenging, corporate or entrepreneurship?
Oh, they both have their challenges. In the corporate world, you're having to do what other people want you to do. You're not always living your own personal vision, but you have security and a paycheck each month and some good bonuses. But then you step into the entrepreneurship world, and that is your soul. That's you're living your purpose if you get it right. And that's beautiful. But you still got to work. You got to lift, your income. You've got to get behind it. And it is 7 days a week quite often. You've got to be able to carve out enough downtime for yourself. Otherwise, you burn out there too.
Yeah, definitely understand. So let's say, because I know most of there's a lot of individuals within the community who they're thinking about possibly leaving maybe a job or something, getting into building their coaching business kind of full time. So, what
Mm.
do you have any advice for those individuals?
First, work out what it is you're passionate about. Because that we are giving, we're serving other people, seeing this is my passion. How can I use that to serve another person so that they can grow? And I think that has to be the first thing. I think also is get clear on your personal brand and the values that are there. Building a personal brand lets people know, like, and trust you. And that's what we need if we want to convert people from interested viewers to people who are actually going to come with us and work together with us to grow on their own journey. So really build a personal brand. I often think what happens is we start and jump in and start, I want to offer someone a course. But actually, if you grow the brand built on your purpose and your own internal values, then what you do in terms of a course or coaching offerings flow much more naturally and they're more aligned. It's a more consistent message for the people who are going to become your clients.
Hmm. Okay. So, how do you define a personal brand?
Well, I define it very much about who I am. It's based on my values in life. So mine are to be calm, courageous, and compassionate. So those are my values, and they shine through everything that I do. And that I built that around me as a person, but also what I stand for in terms of what I want to do. So my coaching programs are about thriving through transition, which is also aligned to my own personal story.
Hmm. Love it. Now, in terms of your business, right? So, did many of the skills transfer over? So, when you were in corporate to now running your business, did you have a lot of skills that transferred over, or would you say most of the skills you'd have to learn were pretty new?
No, I think I transferred a lot of skills. I mean, I have a lot of business skills and I've been in a lot of meetings with a lot of people, so I'm used to that, bringing together people that can support me, so when you work in corporate, you work in a team, you have suppliers. We have a lot of that in our businesses too. We're not totally solo. And so that collaborative approach, that teamwork approach is also what I bring to my business. So I have people that I work with or that I can refer my clients sometimes to if I'm not a specialist. I have a podcast which allows me to bring other collaborators in for my clients. So that is a very lovely way to bring my corporate skills. And you learn timekeeping, being on time, doing your meetings. You're quite structured, and we can't be entrepreneurs without structure. Otherwise, we're just jumping from one thing to the next. But you have to learn. What I had to learn was to be a salesperson. We can't have business and not be salespeople. We think, oh, I don't like selling. But actually, being an entrepreneur is about selling at the end of the day, but selling in the right way, selling so you serve, not selling in a pushy or gimmicky way. So that was a journey for me. And obviously having to take over your own social media. I worked in marketing and media, so I understood the nuts and bolts, but I hadn't done it myself. So I had to learn to build that media presence that I didn't have before.
Hmm. Okay, good. Oh, so you work in marketing and media?
Yes, I did.
Oh, so what did you do? What type of roles were you responsible for?
I was the head of market and consumer insights for some very big, very famous brands, global brands. Um, and so I led global teams around the world, understanding consumers, their behavior, how they shopped, how they lived. And that gives me a good idea to define my own target market that I have now. And I also was involved with media and how we work with agencies to get the best out of them, to build big campaigns, really big global marketing campaigns. Some of those TV campaigns are still there 20 years later that I
Oh,
was involved with.
nice.
So I'm not sad about that thing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Yeah, and it's so true what you said about entrepreneurship. It's one of those places where when you do get into it, like you have to there's a lot of skills you have to learn, right? Especially the skill of showing up. And then the second I think you mentioned is like kind of the whole priorities, right? As far as having some type of plan and having some type of structure. Because if not, with entrepreneurship, there's just so much to do. right? There's no right or wrong way. It just becomes a game of what are the priorities, right? Because you could do anything, you're free to do anything, but at the end, does it add up to what you wanted to add up? Does it add up to that end result that you wanted? So now shifts into just a doing to prioritizing, right?
That's right. And you have to prioritize. We might want to do much more than we have the capacity to do. And I would say to anybody out there that's on this journey, try and see when you can afford to outsource things that you're not good at. And that's where we often end up spending a lot of time messing about with things that aren't our core competency. And, that gets a lot of frustration. So if you're not a website builder, don't spend ages trying to build your website. If you're not great at designing and logos and all these things, don't do it. There's people out there that can do that for you very cheaply and turn it around and do it professionally. And that takes a lot of the pressure off. So when you can outsource more and more of your business, you're freed up to do the thing that you're good at. You should show your genius to the world.
Yeah, that's so true. And I definitely recommend, that's definitely something I recommend to all my clients as well, to once they do get to a point of generating money, any type of income they're getting from, once they get that consistent flow of clients, whether it's monthly or whatever, saying, I love the skill of being able to budget and forecast, because I realize most individuals who do run businesses, they just don't feel like they ever have enough money to hire, versus if you actually sit down, do your budget, and then kind of do a bit of forecasting as far as whether it's payments you kind of come in for all these different clients or whatever, you can now see, holy goodness, I could allocate, it's going to cost me this much to do this, and I could actually allocate some funds to put aside. I could future project, right? I could see where I'm at, so I could see that if I spend that, it's not the end of the world, or I actually do have that money. It's been sitting there, and you could use that, right? Yeah. And the next thing is, as far as outsourcing, it's so powerful, right? Because the way I like to think about it too, because there's all these different tools, all these processes that's people have figured out, right? So there's a tool we use in our business that's really awesome to kind of keep organization and stuff like that. And but that team has their own support. So it's almost like you have your own team that has its own support, a full-on company that has the support that you would need to get what you need done. So there's no having to, like, you have to actually figure it out on your own, right? You could always find that person, that team that could help make your life easier.
Exactly. And I think for me, that was such a relief when I got to that point. I was like, oh, I'm getting rid of these things. And then actually you give more to your clients. You work towards, spending more time really being with your clients and giving them that, because they're the next point to your referral, because we don't want to be always chasing online for our clients. What we want to do more and more is get people to coming to you on referral, because you have that trusted space that you hold, and that people come to you, and then you're into more high value ticket clients as well. That's important for us, because we're always in the bottom and we're scrabbling and hustling. That's when entrepreneurship's hard.
Yeah, love it. So what about how do you, in terms of self-knowledge and stuff like that, how do you get your information? Are you a reader? Do podcast, videos? How do you consume information?
A little bit of both. I'm a big podcast fan. When you're a podcaster, you usually like, and I try to listen to a large number of different podcasts in areas that I'm interested in, partly because I like to listen and consume the content for my own learning, but to hear different points of view, and sometimes just to be inspired of how other people, speak and communicate. I like to take training courses with well-known people. So maybe as a coach, or just dip into a good webinar. I like that I can consume that content in my own space and time. I like to read, but I'm not good at reading business books. I'm not the person to ask about that. But I think it's that interesting space where you can keep consuming information, is from podcasts, webinars, and I'm a big LinkedIn fan. I'm a massive fan on LinkedIn. I think we learn a lot from each other there and get engaged there, because there are some amazing people on there.
Yeah. Is LinkedIn your main platform?
It is, actually. I used to think, it was Facebook, but actually, strangely enough, because I work predominantly with corporate women, then obviously LinkedIn's where they hang out. So that is my main social media platform, and it's been amazing. If you get in there, don't be a lurker, get out there, engage, people will engage with you. And it's an ability still to build a lot of conversation and engagement and collaboration. So I really love LinkedIn. And I use Instagram quite a lot as well to share soundbite messages.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So you said you have a podcast. What's the name of your podcast?
It's called Thriving Through Menopause.
Okay, awesome. How long have you been hosting it?
I've been hosting it for about nearly a year.
Mm-hmm.
And prior to that, it was more of a meditation, mindfulness podcast, but it's grown into becoming very much more a menopause podcast. And I interview a different guest every week.
Yeah, awesome. So you got quite a few episodes in.
I have, yeah. And in this one, we're up to about episode 60.
Mm-hmm. Goodness, love it, love it. Awesome. So what about, I like asking the question in terms, because I know that there's always something that comes up for us, maybe every day, every other day, every week is something, some big insight that we get as we're on our journey, growing our business and doing these different things, that ideas that just, we're like, goodness, like this is a really awesome idea. So over the past, maybe say few days, weeks or whatever, have you got any of those big insights that just came, that have come to you?
Well, actually, yes, that's a great question. I just did the 5 and 5 challenge with Steve Olsher, and some people who listen to Reinvention Radio, I think it's called, how to become an 8-figure entrepreneur. He's very well known. He's a big podcaster and coach. And I did his how to become a guest in the five guest appearances in 5 days. And I learned so much about how you can put your lead magnet into that environment and really make yourself $100,000 a year just off the back of podcasting. If you were a podcast guest twice a week, every single week,
Mm-hmm.
you know, how to be a really great guest there and make that a way to make really good money off a good lead magnet. And I was like, whoa, I haven't been using my podcast appearances as well as I could, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a real aha moment. So that has changed a lot of how I do that.
Yeah, love it, love it. Awesome. So I guess next question becomes, what's one skill you'd say that you believe is responsible for your level of success that you've created in your business today?
Do you know, it's consistency. I think you have to be consistent in your message. If you chop and change, your clients are confused. You have to show up in your social platforms of choice every single day. Maybe not always on weekends, but certainly we need to be showing up regularly with some consistent, clear messaging that have good calls to action. And then if we do that, be consistent. People get to know you. They've got to build a relationship with you. They can't meet you. You know, we're not meeting face to face in these times anyway, but we're not meeting face to face as much as we did. So if you do what I call a hit and run, you know, you put a post and then you don't appear again for another month, people go, and you don't get seen. But being there, people then start to communicate with you. They send you messages. They say, oh, hi, you're here. That's lovely. I love your message. I know what you stand for. And then we can open conversation. So be consistent. It's very important.
Mm-hmm. Love it, love it. Now, what about your clients? What's that vision that you have for them?
My vision for them is that they have self-mastery, that they take control of these big changes in their life. They're resilient and they're strong, because midlife is so much change for my clients in so many areas that are not just physiological, but they're psychological, they're deeply emotional, and they're also part of fitting into this new society when you're not 25, you know, and the world loves youth. We're still learning how to be a bit older and be thriving here. But my vision is that they have the capacity, the tools, the knowledge to step out into what I think is the best third of your life after having some work with me. I mean, I'm about to turn 60, so I'm allowed to say that.
Love it. Okay, good, good. Now we're running short on time, but if someone wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to connect?
The best way to connect with me is on my website, clarissakristiansson.com. So that's my name. So people will see that's just my name, one word. Yeah.
Awesome. What about free? Do you have any free stuff you have, freebies or something?
I do have some free downloads that you can download on the website. I have some workbooks that people can download and some planning sheets there. So that's
Love it, Clarissa. Well, hey, thank you so much. And guys, the link to her website, the link to Clarissa's website, it will be either right above or below this video. So you should be able to click and get connected right to her. So, hey, Clarissa, thanks for stopping by today. Really appreciate it. Do you have any final thoughts before we end?
No, thank you, Extus. I think this has been lovely. And I hope that the people who are planning to become coaches, become entrepreneurs, have gained some value from this conversation.
Awesome. Love it. Well, thanks again, and we'll talk soon.
We will. Thank you very much.